Are you happy? Do you want to be happy? Maybe do you think you'll be happy one day? And like happiness is this elusive idea you have. Maybe you even have a clear idea. I don't know. Well, today you're in luck because we're going to talk about what is happiness. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. Danny, you're with my buddy Randy. What's up, Randy?
Yo, Danny.
I think I said that weird, but that's okay.
That's okay. Don't worry. Be happy.
Yeah, right. That is really the truth. You just have to not worry to be happy, I think. I think that's the only way probably to be happy.
hmm
Yeah.
Well, it's happiness is an interesting thing because it's generally one of those things that you have when you're not thinking about it.
Well, it's like it's a state though, right? It's a state of mind, like a mental state, like a feeling, basically, right? I
hmm
think, and I think that's part of the problem with happiness is like we think it's this thing that we can get, like through causal processes and steps and acquisition.
We're definitely marketed to enough that if we buy
Yeah.
the right things,
Well,
then we'll definitely be
and
happy
I
and
think
earn
that's a
enough
huge
money, then definitely be happy.
I think that's a huge part of the problem, right? Too, because like every commercial you watch, right? It's like Coca-Cola, it's like people drinking Coke on the beach or a barbecue, having a great time, or like beer or whatever, or like whatever it is, right? It's always because nobody wants to see depressed people. Obviously, that's not going to sell a product.
hmm
But the point is, we always give this image of like people are always happy that we see on TV, that we see, all these things, and like it's like as if you could exist in that state perpetually.
But that's how they discover that they could just sell stuff a lot better. Because initially they would actually sell the thing. They would be like,
It
buy a
has this,
vacuum cleaner, and then
yeah.
you'll have a vacuum cleaner. But then they realize they're like, yeah, but if we sell people on things that they can actually have, but that they want, then they'll do it more. So they start selling like happiness
Lifestyles.
and
Yeah.
love and like family togetherness and all these things. And it's like, oh, if I just buy that, then I'll have that thing that I don't want. And that'd be so hilarious to like take something back to the store and be like, I bought this because they said I'd be happy, but I'm not.
I'm
So
still miserable. It
take it
didn't
back.
work.
Take it back.
Stovetop did not bring my family together. So
Yeah, I know. Yep.
yeah, but I think this is, it's funny because you're right. Like, and that sales pitch is in so much. It's in all the movies, right? We talked about that before, like the happily ever after,
Yeah.
all these ideas about like getting there. And I think part of it too is like, what? What's up?
I'm just imagining like someone cooking up stovetop being like, this is really gonna work.
They're finally gonna talk at the dinner table, put down their phones,
Yeah.
enjoy dinner. Yeah,
Oh my God.
it's a dream, right? But I think that's also part of it too, is we want reality to be we want to force reality to be a certain way that's not, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about this before too, but we also have this like idea that we should be happy all the time, which is ridiculous. Like you can't be. You just
Yeah.
cannot be. And I always think back like, I always liked what in virtue ethics, like Aristotle's Stoics, Plato. I always like their idea because they always talk about like, you should be virtuous. And when you look at how they explain the benefit of virtue, which is like why you ought to be, what do you get from it basically? Most of them kind of land on you're just more stable. Basically, that if you're virtuous, you can handle what life throws at you because they all mention like, there's going to be fortune and misfortune. You can't control that. Like, no matter how good of a person you are, people are going to die. There might be an eruption of a volcano. There might be a natural, these things we can't control, but we'll be able to handle them better if we have a solid, stable character.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because it's like when you act virtuously, essentially you're doing the right thing
Yeah.
because it's the right thing and because your actions are within your control. But like happiness is not within your control. And so like,
No.
but when you're doing stuff to have happiness, then you can do stuff that's not virtuous. You can do the wrong things to try and get happiness. And that not only causes, I mean, it may get you there in the short term, but in the long term, it definitely doesn't. And it could hurt other people as
Well,
well.
that's the other weird thing is we don't I think we use happiness very generally because really short terms like pleasure, joy, and this gets into definitions, which is hard too, I think, because we don't have a clear definition of it either, which is also a huge part of the problem, I think. But like you said, right? Because like short-term pleasures often lead to more problems long term, generally, not always, but do. And I think you're right too, like that idea that, if I just get these things, it'll equal happiness when that's outside of our control. So there is no direct causal relationship between getting those things and the happiness that will follow, which then makes you depressed because you're not happy, right? You didn't get the feeling that you thought you were going to get from it.
Yeah, but I also think there's with acting virtuously, I think that there is happiness to come that comes with knowing you did everything in your control.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah. Aristotle even talks about that. He says, it feels good to do virtuous things because you're doing things that are within your nature, and doing things in your nature feels good. Like because
Hmm.
you're in control of yourself, right? You're deciding how to act, you're acting in a way that's, within your control, and that feels good, right? Even if, things don't necessarily always work out, it'll feel good because you're doing what's good for you.
Yeah, like that's always helpful reminder to myself whenever something doesn't work out the way that I wanted, but then I can look back and I say, well, I did everything that was in my control. And
Yeah.
and I feel good about that. And you know, then after that it's just kind of a roll of the dice.
Just
What do you
like,
think?
learning things and stuff usually feels good, right? Because you're enhancing your own understanding of the world, your own, knowledge base, whatever, your skill sets. Yeah.
Hmm.
Happiness is so tricky though, because it's
But
like
so
yeah.
oh,
Go ahead. I'm just rambling.
here's another thing that I heard recently was that we basically as humans we have like two essential drives. One is the drive to stay alive, and the other is the drive to be happy. Because the first, the drive to stay alive, because if we didn't have that, we die. And the second, the drive to be happy, because if we didn't do that, there'd really be no reason to not just kill ourselves now. And
Yeah.
so, because there's not like there's nothing to look forward to.
Well, I think that's
Like if,
part of it, right? Is that's like the happiness gets tied in with like the dreaming and the what we want from our lives, and does
mhm,
help us like motivate ourselves to make things better in the
mhm.
present, but or and in the future too. But it's also hard because then you're counting on this goal that, may or may not come.
Well, so I think when I was thinking about this, and I think the issue comes with like the difference between knowing that it's one of our primary drives to want to be happy and thinking that we should be happy all
Yeah.
the time. Because, like, granted, it's a drive to be happy all the time. Yeah, that doesn't mean you're going to be happy all the time. Same thing with it's a drive to stay alive, even though a lot of times you wish you weren't because life is really
Yeah.
painful.
Yeah.
So it's like these things are our natural drives, but it doesn't mean we're going to have them all the time.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to look at it. I like that. Yeah. I think we've also just like culturally, socially, we just mess each other up so much with how we sort of indoctrinate people, teach them, and their view of the world. We just mess them up because we don't give them clear definitions of things, and then they have these like skewed perceptions based on what they see outside of themselves, which is a mess. And I
Hmm.
think like the imaginary happiness is this made up idea that you'll be like smiling forever after something happens. And it's like, yeah, very
Yeah,
weird.
like what happened to the rule of philosopher kings? Like it seemed like things were going so well with like the Greeks and the Romans where like they thought that, essentially the philosophers would be the rulers and they would kind of teach everyone else. And then all of a sudden, what the heck happened?
Christianity?
Oh, okay, cool.
Well, I mean, that's what the Holy Roman Empire started, right? And then Rome fell.
Oh, okay,
But,
gotcha.
I mean, that could be, that's just one reason. But yeah,
The
I don't
golden
know.
rule. He who
Yeah.
has the gold makes the rules. That
Well, I think part of
yeah.
the problem is that, right? Is that greed and stuff and other things came into play. Like, and even
Hmm.
you read philosophy, you read about the philosopher kings and stuff, but that's not how Greece was either, though. They weren't necessarily there. They were doing pretty good, but they weren't like, at that level
Yeah.
either.
Did you ever see the movie, what is it, Year One or
Oh
whatever?
God, yeah, it's a great movie.
Like the
Jack Black and
orgies
Michael
and
Cera.
stuff that they had, and the big fat hairy dude having him rub oil on him. Oh my gosh, that
That's
was
a good
great.
movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just, life is life is kind of hard. And
Hmm.
it's not, we have very little control over so many things. Like, it's so much is just happening around us that we have no
Hmm.
control over. We don't even have control over the people we are closest to. And that's what's
No.
funny. Like, you can't control anything in your lives.
Can't even control ourselves.
No.
Like we're aging, we can't control that. Time is passing, we can't control that.
Ugh, I know,
Or
time, right?
yeah, yeah, all this stuff.
But I think that's it, right? Like we want to have we I think that's the other problem too is like this idea, and I think maybe this is like a more US problem, I don't know, but that individualism, right, in the US that you can do anything. You just have to like do it and grind
Hmm.
and put in the effort. But
Oh
that's not
yeah,
true because
I know.
one,
Yeah.
lots of people who did things had a lot of help and a lot of
Yep.
benefits that other people didn't have. And it is true that you can do kind of like anything, but I think that also puts like that also makes it seem like the individual has way more control over things than they really do. And
Yep.
that's the other problem because it
Well,
gives us a false perception, right?
this whole like self-made person, the self-made millionaire, the self-made billionaire, it's a crock of BS because nobody can be self-made. What did you like everything that you ate, you just harvested it from seed
Yeah,
and you
right.
created those seeds yourself too? Like what, everything you're self-made? No, it's like you, yeah, sure, maybe you started poor and then you started a company and made some money, but that's one thing. But there was a whole bunch of other stuff
It's
and a whole
also
bunch of
funny
other
too.
people
It's
that
like,
put
well,
stuff together.
it's like Amazon, they wouldn't be able to do anything unless the government built roads. You know?
Hmm.
Like they didn't build the roads, they didn't design to make the trucks, they didn't do any of that stuff. They didn't
Yep.
like I mean, there's so many things that, you depend on for these things to work, and then we act like, and I think that is like a big problem with it too. The
Hmm.
tech industry is terrible at that too, because you always get like the CEO comes out to announce new products, like in like sneakers,
Yeah.
like it was no big
I
deal.
did this.
Look what I made, guys. And it's
Yeah.
like you didn't make anything.
Yeah. I know. Go
Uh,
figure.
it is.
So happiness.
Yeah.
I think yeah, I think I told you a couple of weeks ago. I listened to some Musonius Rufus. Really good. I mean, another guy who just talks about kind of virtue and stuff, living a virtuous life, and but he talks about it in a way that you can kind of really understand.
That's always helpful, isn't it? I think the
Hmm.
key is like, just recognizing like what you do have control over yourself. Like, and I think this is the important thing. Like, if you're unhappy, there are things you can do. There's definitely stuff you can do. And at the very least, one thing I've learned is like taking positive action will help. It won't make everything better. It won't make you happy all the time, but it will definitely make your life better and make you feel better more often than you do now.
What's really interesting? So like again, these books that I always harp on because I just learned so much from them.
Yeah, that's cool,
But
whatever. I like stuff.
he yeah, I mean he talks a lot about kind of defining stuff, like coming to definitions with things.
It's
And it's
helpful.
like, yeah, it's very helpful because like if you think you're not happy, it's like, could you be 1% happier? Like, I mean, we're just talking 1% happier. Like
Yeah.
maybe your happiness is at 3%. Could you maybe, if you tried really hard, be 4% happy? It's like, if yes, well, if you can be 1% happy, you could be 1% times a whole bunch more happier. So it's like this concept that like what we are in terms of happiness is a static thing, or because
Well,
our
that's
whole
just
entire
it.
life,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like we
if you
treat it
look
like it's
back,
final. Yeah. Sorry.
exactly. Yeah. If you look back, like our moods are all over the place throughout our life. Now, when we're in a bad mood, it's a lot easier to think that it's the only way that it is. And he even gives examples in the books of like clients that he's had where, their whole life is terrible. They've never had a day of happiness. And then he'll do some exercises with them and they'll be feeling good again. And they'll talk to him and he'll be like, so what about this whole thing about you never had a day of happiness in their life? And he's like, and they're like, oh yeah, I don't know where that came from. My life has been great. I just having a bad week. And it's like your mind is so crazy that it can just
Yeah.
shut off all the good memories that you have
It's
and
weird.
can
Yeah, it
complete.
is weird. I wonder too how much of that is like life's changed a lot, right? We're not animals, nomadic animals wandering around anymore. I wonder how much of it too is like a mismatch of like instinctual stuff that might have helped us survive in the past, and then modern society being so wildly different from that, that
Mm,
those things don't have an outlet kind of, or like a use. So yeah,
yeah.
because I don't know, but I think one of the best things you can do though is taking action. Doing something is always better than nothing because I myself included, but so many people I've seen, they're miserable and they're like, but nothing's going to get better because of, and then you do the blame game and blame the
Hmm.
world, everybody else, victimize yourself, and then that just makes you inert. And then guess
Yep.
what? Nothing gets better.
Yeah. Well, it's like action is something that's in your control.
Yeah,
Actions, beliefs, judgments, decisions, those are things that are within your control. So you can go ahead and change those, and those will essentially change your life. But
Yeah.
if you don't change those, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah. I think too, the other big thing too is because those things are in your control is like being honest with yourself about what's triggering you. And a lot of people, I think, like news, social media, stuff like that, like getting off of that helps a lot
Oh
because you
yeah.
just remove those triggers that are constantly
And they're
present.
just garbage.
Yeah, it is garbage. But I mean, you also just remove those triggers, right? Like, because if you're not feeling good about your life, and then you go on, you see, like, your neighbor is posting pictures from the trip to Hawaii, or like, you're seeing some jackass be like, this is $180 million mansion.
Talk,
Look at
talking about
it.
talking about freaking garbage. So like this is how bad it is. So for years, ever since inflation started, for years they've been talking about how like inflation numbers are worse than everybody thought, and like they're so much worse than the projected numbers, and why this is terrible. And so now that they're less than the projected numbers, I saw a headline on some news thing the other day where it's like why inflation numbers less than the projected numbers are terrible. And it's just like, come on, it can't be terrible both ways.
But
Like,
it is, and the reason is because that sells more
yeah,
than the alternative. Like, then that's just it. Like, if you realize that, like, social media, the news, if they get you angry or depressed or upset or anxious, you're going to keep watching. They don't
yeah,
give a shit if you're happy. And that's
nope.
really the problem. And people don't realize that. And then they're told that lie, like, you gotta be an informed citizen, though. You got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called
And
citizenship.
yeah, right. And yeah, I think this is just like another part of it too, is we get caught up in these traps where other people are manipulating our emotions and we don't realize it. And that's
Hmm.
really dangerous too. You have to be in control of yourself first.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll never be happy. And this,
No, but also get your
and then,
shit together.
yeah, exactly. Do what you can do.
Yeah.
Take care of your actions, decisions, beliefs, that type of stuff, and
Yeah.
then
And
be
be
as happy as you
realistic.
can and then
Be
die.
realistic is good too.
Hmm.
Calm down. Yeah, we'll be all right. And then we all die in. It doesn't matter. So I mean, that's a good positive thing to end on, I think, is that no matter what, this
Yeah,
doesn't matter. You're fine. Don't worry.
exactly.
All right. Well, there you have it, I guess. What is happiness? I don't know if we answered it. We'll try. We'll keep trying. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. So if you liked it, check us out on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. We have hundreds of episodes. It's awesome. There's so much information. Check it out. We'll be back later this week with another episode, though. Until then, later, Andy.
Later, Danny.